Welcome to the Pleasure Points podcast. I'm your host, James Rohr. I am an acupuncturist and a coach, and you're listening to a great episode. Today, I'm joined by registered nurse practitioner, functional medicine guru, Kundalini expert, shaman, goddess, and the co-founder of the Luna Fast, Miss Bianca Abbott. I've known Bianca for a few years here in Miami, and she is very involved in the Kundalini world. And she and her partner are just launching something called the Luna Fast, which is a 10-day detox, cleanse, and restore program. And I'm super excited that she came to join the podcast. She shows up with a huge open heart and shares a lot of personal information, and her enthusiasm for Kundalini and for fasting and for wellness is really infectious. I had a great time speaking with her, and I hope you enjoy the episode as much as I did speaking with her. You can follow her on Instagram at yoga_Bianca Abbott. And you can also follow them at lunafast.com. And on Instagram, the LunaFast has a handle at the LunaFast. And as always, you can check my stuff out on Instagram at James E. Rohr. And the website's going to be invitinginlove.com. So without any further ado, please welcome to the show, Ms. Bianca Abbott. All right. Looks like everything's good. You comfortable?
Yes. Okay. Well, maybe I should just I'm
kick your shoes off.
Yeah,
relax.
I'm going to kick my shoes off and get into.
Want a homey environment.
Yeah.
I was joking with Jen a while ago that it was like, you know, we sort of like sit back and you dream about like, you know, what do you want your life to look like? And you and I were just talking about the problems of just seeing one-on-one clients, and it's like a grind that just keeps going and going and going. And like I've had all these issues with like the coaching world because so many people sign up for coaching and then they don't do anything. Right. They don't like follow through with the stuff. And it's like a very interesting thing being in the coaching world. And I said to her in a moment of frustration once, I said, you know what? I just want to have an awesome house where people come over, we drink some tea, we talk about some shit, and then they leave feeling better.
Yes.
And so that's like
that.
like the jam, you know. And instead, it's like we have all this like branding and like, you know, what is your market and who's your target person, right, and like all this stuff, which is important because you have a message that you want to get out. Right? I'm super stoked that you're here, and you know we're going to talk about all the things and the fasting and all this stuff. And yet, like underneath all of that, it's like we're human beings here. We're just humans, like trying to do our best, bring a good mood, and like have a nice time together.
Yes.
So anyway, thanks for coming on. That's my little rant to start.
Thank you so much for being here. It's like, it's so lovely to be in your presence and in Jennifer's presence. You both like are such beautiful lights and leaders in the community. And I feel grateful to be on this planet with you all and creating and manifesting.
Awesome.
So let's
Sweet.
do it.
If only everyone came on and gave me such nice praise to start.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've got a fasting program that's coming up.
Yes.
Before we get into that, I really want to hear about Kundalini, because Kundalini was like how I first heard about you. I worked with Sadhu at Canyon Ranch, and I've seen you guys like have some events together and stuff. And the couple times that I've done like any kind of Kundalini thing, I get this like amazing buzz and high that is just amazing. And then I see that you do stuff that's like at 4 a.m, and I'm like, who in the world is going to get up at 4 a.m. to go do this? But you've created like a whole community down here.
Yes, it's been such the blessing. And Kundalini yoga actually came into my life about 7 years ago in New York City. I was in the midst of, I was in school, I was at NYU. Well, first I was at Columbia, and I thought I wanted to go to med school, and found out about nurse practitioner. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to do. Because I knew that westernized medicine wasn't really that, you know, effective in preventative care, but I wanted the knowledge. I wanted to learn how to prescribe and diagnose medications so that like in the preventative realm with the Eastern and the Western ways, I could really treat people, you know, give them the full care that they would need. So while I was in that, I was, you know, New York City, the stress of New York City, trying to even like understand how to exist there with the noises and the, you know, just all of it. It's just so cutthroat, the city. So yoga was my saving grace. I started yoga when I was 15, actually. I was diagnosed with ADHD, anxiety, and depression in high school and found yoga when I was 15. And then later in my 20s, when I was in New York City, is when I really decided to become a teacher.
Did you start with like a vinyasa or like a hatha practice?
I started with yoga to the people. It was the only place I could afford.
Sure.
It was donation based.
Yeah.
So I was able.
It's still there.
Right. And they probably teach the most yoga in the world. And it was just such an amazing movement to be able to go there and to have, 150 people in a small room, like mat to mat. And it was, for me, it helped me get through some of the deepest depression I've ever been was in New York City. Just experiencing the winters and the noises. I'm a Florida girl, really.
Did you grow up in Miami here?
I grew up in Naples, Florida.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't even like the city. It was actually a boyfriend that brought me there. And he got into Columbia and I got into Columbia as well. And so we went up there and I started a post-bac pre-med program. And then found out about nurse practitioner. And I was like, that's more in alignment with me than getting my MD.
Sure.
So yoga was my saving grace through, getting through Columbia, getting through NYU, getting through the stressors of going through every major borough. I had to work in every major borough. I worked with so many people. I mean, very, very sick. Seeing people on, 10 to 20 medications in the hospitals. It was intense. It was a big wake-up call to see like the current crisis that's happening in America. And, just with my mom's health and my health and my sister's health, we didn't find really any of the answers in Westernized medicine. But I knew that I needed the Westernized medicine backing to really have, create a movement in the healing.
Sure.
And just being with my mother and seeing her live, for a very long time with HIV and, having AIDS at points, I was like, okay, we need to figure out, I'm on this planet to find the cure for my mother.
Yeah.
So ever since I was in second grade, I've been on this mission, to really seek it out. And I've been, since I was in second grade, I've had this fascination for India. I've always been called to India.
Yeah.
So it's like all of these things, right? Like the my past, my past lives might have been in India, who knows? But it's like I had this super fascination for yoga, and it was like it's what brought me into enlightenment and healing, self-healing, finding that inner healing. And so I did my yoga to the people 200-hour training. Yeah. And I had my first Kundalini awakening in my training.
In the 200 hours?
Yes.
Wow. So what does that mean, a Kundalini awakening?
Well, so we were doing this one like Osho meditation. Osho. I love Osho.
He's the best.
Thank God for Osho. Where you had to like jump with your hands, your arms up for literally an hour.
Whoa.
So your arms are up and you're jumping. And I think we were saying HUD, or I forget exactly we were saying something to really activate the Kundalini. And I had this like energy come through my body like I've never experienced. It was one of the most amazing orgasms I've had in my whole entire life.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to do. I was like, what is going on? This is like, and I didn't know. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to be a little bit embarrassed. Because it's like, I was opening up my body to these ancient, these ancient practices and these energies. I'm like this little Florida girl coming into these, these practices that just go deep, and you're bringing prana deep into your system. And I was anxious most of my life. I didn't know how to breathe. I was a reverse breather. So I wasn't even breathing until I had my teacher training. Really?
Reverse breathing, meaning like
meaning when I would breathe in, my belly would go in, and instead of out.
Got it.
And so I realized at that moment that, wow, how many other people in the world are creating their own anxiety and their own like depression through their breath.
Sure.
And that's when I like had, just an awakening with all of it, So it really started in New York City at Yoga to the People on that great day that I had the Kundalini awakening.
Yeah.
And then I got into landmark training.
Sure, I've done it.
Yeah. So I did the landmark. So I was doing the landmark and the teacher training. This was actually the reason I got into all of it was because I got out of an engagement. The engagement, it was a catalyst for me to go become a teacher.
Did you call off the engagement?
Yeah.
Wow. How hard was that?
It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
I bet.
Because I loved him so much. We just couldn't coexist under one roof and be happy together. And we just had to admit it to each other.
How did you make that decision? Like, do you remember like the moment where you were just like, that's it, I can't.
It was the minute I said yes when I meant to say no. Wow. Yeah. And I tried to not admit it to myself.
Sure.
Because I really wanted that. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have children. I wanted to be in a marriage with this man. But I knew that he wasn't the right one right when he asked me. But I decided to say yes.
Sure.
So.
And then how long was that time from when you said yes to when you called it off?
From about 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a tremendous amount of respect for people who call off engagements.
Thank you.
I think that's like, there's a courage there to do that I was married and divorced, and like, I wouldn't say that I like knew that I shouldn't have gotten married because I feel confident in like all of those things. But I also remember there was a time where I was like, maybe we shouldn't get married. And then I immediately thought to like, well, all these people are here. Like, we've sent out the invitations. Right. And she even said afterwards, like, she was like, I knew 2 days before we got married that we shouldn't have gotten married. But like, I was so concerned about what other people were going to think that there was no way that I was built to like walk away from that. Right. And so when I hear that people have called off engagements, I mean, Jen was engaged, and she called it off too. Yeah. So she called it off. And, I have a ton of respect for that. I think that there's a courage that is required to do that.
Oh, it was one of the most isolating and one of the most empowering things I've ever done for myself, because it was really the catalyst to me finding my true self, like really stepping into my true self, because I had to admit the lie, the illusion, like the big fat elephant in the room. And I feel like a lot of people get married for the wrong reasons because they just want to have that, the marriage and the family and all of it. They have this dream, but you can't force it, because then what, like, how can you really be a powerful light in the world if you're not true to yourself and the partner that you're sharing your life with? It's just not possible.
So did you feel it in your body? Like when you said yes, or like in those 4 months afterwards, did you notice like maybe you weren't sleeping or that your stomach felt tight?
I went to a therapist because I was like, why am I with the man? Like on paper, we looked amazing. Like we had amazing jobs. I was working on Central Park South over the park. I was a nurse. I was working in dermatology. At that time, I wanted to, one day open a medical spa, because as a nurse practitioner, you can do all of it, right? So that was my dream. Yeah. And so I went and, literally had to get on antidepressants to live with this man. And I was like, how am I going to have babies if I'm on antidepressants? Yeah. So it was just like all of these things I had to like really get real in myself with. And it's interesting to be able to talk about it on a podcast and like come back to it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I appreciate your openness.
Thank you.
Huge. People need to hear the message. They need to hear that, because there might be someone listening now who's in that situation, who's engaged, and when she knew that when she said yes, she should have said no. And she's sitting there and she's thinking about it, and they're planning. She might be planning the wedding, and the deposits might already be laid. But to have that kind of courage. And I had a client, an acupuncture client, who was engaged, and she did that thing. She started the antidepressants, and as far as I know, they're married, and they seem to be happy. But I definitely had that moment where I was like, I just want, in case you're not seeing yourself clearly, let me just like mirror this back to you. You're medicating yourself so that you can be married to this person. Yeah. And like, I'm sort of judging it, but like, I have compassion, right? Because she had her things that were going on, and she had what she needed to hit and whatever. But it's like, this is a huge piece of data. Yeah, totally. That should be looked at.
Huge. And I think most of us are, we want the happy ending, and we'll force situations to happen that aren't in alignment with happiness. Yeah. And we're living in this world where we're well, for me, it was the illusion of wanting to be perfect and wanting to have this like outward like this is Bianca, but inside I wasn't happy.
Wow.
Like I wasn't. I had dealt with a lot of trauma, and I was trying my best and hardest to, figure out what I want to do on this planet, and dealing with all this trauma of living with, like chronic illness and disease in my family, and, and in my own life, I've had a lot of issues, depression, anxiety. I mean, even still, sometimes I have issues with anxiety. It's been a constant battle for me. And that's why I love Kundalini yoga, because it has been one of the most effective ways for me to deal with my anxiety. And I'm so grateful that I was able to, through this, this whirlwind of situations with calling off the engagement to becoming a teacher in New York City, and then to really just being blasted open and understanding the whole westernized movement, becoming a nurse practitioner, and then like finding out the illusion and all of the poisons that they're prescribing people. And I'm just like, it's just like this one, yoga, thank God, because it's helped me to transcend through all of these things in our culture that are keeping us sick.
Right. And so for people who don't know, like what makes Kundalini yoga different from like a Hatha or a Vinyasa yoga?
So Kundalini yoga is the yoga of awareness. It brings together all the limbs of the yoga. It brings all the 8 limbs. So we're doing meditations, we're doing mantras. Then there's the whole Raja part of it, which is the white tantric yoga in New Mexico, and they have it in Europe, and they have it once a year here in Miami, white tantric yoga. It's the eye gazing. Oh, okay. So we have these, like, all of these different things that really that make Kundalini so much more powerful than your movement with Vinyasa. Vinyasa, I'm trained in Vinyasa, is an asana practice, and it brings in the breath and everything, but it doesn't bring in the 4 a.m. sadhana. It doesn't bring in these like more mystical parts of the yogic traditions that I think was kind of like watered down and just kind of not really, for me, what I found is like Vinyasa was like a watered down yoga for me.
Got it.
But it was a door that opened up my ability to then come and find Kundalini yoga. I had to go through Vinyasa. I had to go through that to like then be able to like understand Kundalini, because it's very weird.
Yeah.
It's not like your normal yoga. You're doing these meditations that are thousands of years old that are, very different from anything that you've ever done. You're making noises that you've probably never made in your life. And it really is like opening up your mind to something that you've never done it before. So it can be, you have to be open-minded. And growing up in Naples, Florida, Catholic, these things, I was like, what is this? But after I experienced it, I was like, wow, this is incredible. So it brings these meditations, it brings the 4 a.m. sadhana, which for me has been one of the most healing modalities for me.
Yeah, so what's the deal with the 4 a.m. thing?
So 4 a.m., you wake up at 4 a.m., and you have to wake up at like 3:15 to get there at 4 a.m. right? Like, and I experienced this because it was part of my training in New York City with Hadi Kar, my teacher, who's a dear woman. If I hadn't found her, she was like a woman that showed me enlightenment and how to like lead my life and come back to my true self. Because I was, that's a really big statement, but I don't know what I would do without that woman. Hadi Kar is, she's amazing. She's in New York City. She's an incredible studio. She's like the mother for so many people on their spiritual path. And I got into Kundalini really too. Again, my mother, so I was going through the breakup, the engagement, and then my mother was dying. And so I had these like major things on my plate at such a young age. And it was just like, okay, like, thank God for Kundalini, because it helped me to get out of it and come out of it stronger.
Wow.
And then, it's this 4 a.m. sadhana that's like was making me feel better and getting out of my anxiety and getting out of my head, and I feel for people, because anxiety is one of those things it's like when it gets you, it's like, you don't know. It's one of the scariest things, especially if you have panic attacks, because you feel like you're going to die. And so learning how to get out of that was 4 a.m. sadhana was it. It was like, I felt so much better. You know, we start with the Japji. It says prayer. So I learned Japji. Like all of these things, right? But I was called to India in second grade, and it's like me coming back to my truest self. And like I started to gain this fascination for Japji, which was like this amazing prayer that helps you to cleanse your karma on all areas, your finances, your relationships. It's like deep, it's Sikh. It comes from the Sikh religion in India. And if you go to India, Amritsar, they have a whole place where they serve free meals to like hundreds of thousands of people every single day. And they do the 4 a.m. sadhana. And that's where I led my retreat this year, was to Amritsar, India. Yeah. Nice. To show people that, you know, this beautiful, it's a religion, but then there's the yoga. It's like, it brings this vibration, this ancient vibration within you to really transcend any worldly problems.
And what was it for you about the 4 a.m.? Is it like just the discipline of like getting up and knowing it's okay? Like, because with anxiety, right, it's like the energy, sometimes it's like the image that I have is like someone like sticks their finger in the light socket and everything just kind of like explodes, right?
Right.
And so like I could imagine, as I'm hearing you, I think of like the discipline of like getting up, give some structure that might give
completely. So my thing, I've always been very disciplined. So I love discipline. So it was right up my alley. The 4 a.m. I was like, okay, great. This is a challenge. Like I'm going to wake up and it's going to be great. And I had been dealing with negativity, like waking up negative. And when you wake up negative, your whole day is negative.
Yeah.
So by waking up at 4 a.m., you like short circuit that negativity because you're like, what? Like, you don't even know. Like when you start driving to sadhana on waking up, it can be a little like, be careful. Like, be careful. Really. Because it was just this. So it helped to short circuit this issue and get me into that gratitude, deep, deep gratitude. Because you're doing the Japji, then you're doing a Kriya, like a yoga. You're doing a yoga set, and then an hour of chanting mantra.
Wow.
And so you're just like you become that like goddess that you are, because you're on this higher vibration from these ancient, you know, the Japji, and, you know, like it's a whole science in itself that we have barely tapped into in West, you know, scientific, you know, you know, because you're an acupuncturist.
Right.
There's very little known about energy.
Right.
But they say at 4 a.m., it's called the Amrit Vela. It's the sweetest time of the day. And it's when you can really tap into your subconscious, because the sun is at a 60-degree angle from the earth. So it's like the energy is so concentrated. It's like so focused at that time. So you can really tap into your subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is the largest. It controls 95% of who you are. So if you want to change your behaviors, if you want to change, really go in and it's not change, it's transform, right?
Right.
It's transform. And if you really want to tap into that transformational energy, 4 a.m. is the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's something cool too about, like, I think about times where I woke up early, especially in New York, where it's like, if you wake up late, it's like you're trying to meet New York. Like you're trying to like meet the rhythm. You're trying to like raise your chi so that like you can like handle the swarm. But when you get up early, and I can only imagine what it'd be like to get up that early and like to get that dialed in. I mean, the only comparison I would have would be like maybe getting a great workout in. But this is like so much more than any of that. I don't even want to like reduce it to that. But it's almost like the image that I had is like, now New York is meeting you. It's like you've gotten yourself to this place, and then it's like, you know, New York can come to you, and it's like it's a different sort of interaction.
And you wake up and you're like, so for me, I continue to do this practice, right? Because of that exact situation that you're talking about. You meet Miami, you meet New York. Like I wake up, people know that I'm up at like, you know, that I'll be answering phone calls and emails very early in the morning. They know I'm up, you know, which is good. I can get most of my work, the busy work, you know, after my sadhana. And then the rest of the day I have like, you know, for very more enjoyable things, you know, like meetings and meeting clients. And so I feel like I get the stuff, they say if you spend 2.5 hours of your day in meditation and in your own, in your own self-love, like through yoga or whatever, to really tap into that in yourself, that it's an insurance policy throughout the day so that you don't get anxious or overwhelmed or, whatever, the stressors of living the American life. So it's an insurance policy for the rest of your day. And it's been wonderful, not only for me, but for my family, my sister. My sister's a Kundalini teacher as well.
Oh, nice.
So my mom, if it wasn't for 4 a.m. Kundalini yoga, my mom would have died.
Wow.
Yeah. Looking back and seeing the big picture and seeing how I've, been kind of guided on this path to become a healer and a yogi. And then my mom and my sister are on board too, doing it to heal themselves. And it's just really fascinating. It
reminds me, I'm happy that they're thriving.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of Qigong. I mean, one of the things that I love Qigong,
right?
And when I hear stories of people who've been diagnosed with chronic disease or terminal illness and stuff, and then they've cured themselves, or like the other example is like if I were, God forbid, something were to happen to me, and like the universe or God came down and said, you get to choose one modality. Mm-hmm. What do you choose? Like for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm choosing Qigong.
Right.
Like I love herbs. I love acupuncture. Diet is, we'll talk about that in a minute. Diet is a huge thing. But I'm choosing Qigong because that integration of like the mind, body, spirit, and learning how to cultivate that feeling of Qi, to move the Qi in the body and to like do that self-healing. It's like there hasn't been anything that I've ever experienced that helps to become like less reactive and more like proactive. When I'm looking at like, am I generating the kind of force field that I want? It's like, for me, it's Qigong. When I'm looking at your energy as you're talking about the 4 a.m. and your Kundalini practice, it's like there's this expansion of energy around you. It's like, it's like filling the room. And that's that same feeling I get with Qigong, and like with anxiety, that's a huge thing, right? It's like you take someone from being reactive to everything in their lives to all of a sudden being like, no, you have a choice as to how you react. And better yet, like you can actually become this proactive generator of the field and the emotions that you want.
It's so incredible. Kundalini yoga has woken me up to my power, how powerful we are. We have major mental illness in my family. I don't even like to say mental illness because really I believe that, we are shamans and healers, and it was a spiritual immersion what my father was going through when he, my dad was in a mental institution at 14 for suicidal thoughts and depression, and then later bipolar. And he had the world at his fingertips. He could have done anything. He was an amazing, handsome genius, and like just couldn't get it together from the bipolar. And now today, I definitely would have the treatment plan for him for sure. And he was. We have to celebrate these for my sister too. And then my sister, had some issues as well, and just due to environment, watching somebody go through ups and downs, you naturally will, go through that. And, I could have gone manic if I hadn't, done yoga and really understood my breath, the power of my breath. I could have gone down really deep with mental illness, but thankfully I was able to find yoga. I was able to find plant medicine. I was able to find herbs, and I was able to like really tap into this ancient wisdom to not only heal myself, but to help, be a conduit of healing for my family and for my mother and my sister. And I don't know where we were going on this tangent, but
good. Well, because now you're
flowing.
You're like, now you're licensed, right? Congratulations.
Thank
to
you.
your license. And now
Thank
you. You're at this point where you're ready to like launch all this stuff and bring it out into the world. And you're like, part of why I'm really excited to have you on here is because you're having the courage to speak up and to bring things that have been a bit on the periphery or in traditions, and making it more mainstream, which is tremendous. And so let's talk a little bit about your new program, right?
Yes.
So it's called Luna Fast.
Luna Fast, yes, we're so super excited. It's a 10-day holistic fasting program, and it goes really deep into into your cells so that you can detoxify at the cellular level. And that's what we really need at the moment because of the current crisis with this whole standard American diet and the westernized system of just symptomatic care.
Yeah.
And I was in Bali for a month getting certified in cellular rejuvenation.
Thunder beings
We're
are
making
here.
it rain. As I talk about the Luna fast.
nice.
That's powerful. As it lightnings. What an introduction.
Yeah. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah. So as a family nurse practitioner, and then, dealing with everything, all the family issues, my mom having HIV, she was given HIV in the hospital. So it wasn't even something that, while giving birth to my sister,
Whoa.
So all of these things, my sister's illness too, all of my dad with bipolar, and then my mother, it's just like, oh my God, the family karma.
Yeah.
And then living through it, and then, going through it, we came to this, I've come to this this macro perspective of it all, because I've lived it. I've embodied it. I've done the westernized medicine. I've done, the yoga, all of it. And the cellular rejuvenation was just like another level of me coming into my power as a healer, learning how to detox the body. And it was actually my sister who who inspired me, because she wanted to heal her thyroid naturally. And thyroid, the thyroid is such a big problem. People with hypo and hyperthyroidism.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge. If you're obese, you have it. If you have any kind of mental illness, you have it because of all the medications you're on. If you're, if you're diabetic, you're hypothyroidism. You have hypothyroidism. I mean, it is, if you're metabolic syndrome, I mean, we can go through the gamut of illnesses right now that are causing this thyroid issue. I mean, if you don't have a thyroid issue, thank God, let's keep you healthy, right? Before you do, because it's a major issue. It affects everything when you have the hyper or hypothyroidism. So I saw my sister having to go into her deep healing through fasting. And it's about a year now that she's been doing the fasting, and she's not on medication. She's none at all. I mean, she was on psych meds, on thyroid medication. She has gone and detoxed her body on another level.
Wow.
Water fasting for weeks, juice fasting for weeks. I mean, you name it, she's done it. And I saw her go through it, and I was just like, that's insane. I'll never do that. Literally. And then I was following this woman on Facebook who was blowing my mind about fasting. And just a little bit of background of how I got into the fasting, because it's really important, because for me, this has been yoga, my new fascination.
Sure.
Or plant medicine. It's one of those top things for healing that I've just wow, we are so powerful. We have this amazing technology within our body, which I had learned through Kundalini yoga, which taught me how to use my energy, taught me how to really wake up my brain and heal my brain. The neuroplasticity that happens at 4 a.m. is amazing. So then it's coming into this whole new world of taking food away from the body and seeing how you react to it.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that comes up from not having food in your body.
Stuff, right?
It's insane. And I'm so happy, because it's wow, this is where the anxiety's been trapped in my body, is in the emotional body. It's in the energetic body. It's on another level that I didn't even know I didn't even know how you could tap into that. I didn't even know that level, except through fasting.
Yeah.
So watching my sister heal, and then going to Bali for a month and experiencing fruit diet, experiencing water fasting and dry fasting. I mean, I've done over 1,000 hours of dry fasting in the last month and a half.
So dry fasting being no food, no water.
No food, no water, but intermittently. So I would do 17 to 20 hours of dry fasting a day.
Okay.
Then the water fasting, right? Not having any food, not even taking any herbs or medications or whatever, just straight water. And I've done that 2 times. And it was wow.
2 times for how long?
So our fast. So we did it for our fast, and then I was doing it in Bali with a whole group of people for the certification.
For how long was like the water fast?
So
was it like a week at a time, or
no? I only did 3 days, but I was doing it with the fruit diet. I haven't been called to do long, because I've been doing intermittent fasting for a long time. And it's for 10 years. I've been doing it. I was doing wellness consulting. Cool. I was putting my clients on intermittent fasting.
Oh, right on.
When I was in New York City, after I graduated from NYU, I decided to go into doing nutritional and wellness consulting and yoga and bring it together. Yeah. So I was doing that in New York City. And so I had understood the power of fasting, intermittent fasting, for a long time with clients in my own health, in my family's health, and then with my sister now doing these like long-term, water fasting and juice fasting and all of that. And I had been doing juice fasting for quite some time as well, but never had I done the water fasting or the dry fasting, which is like, they consider the dry fast the king of all fasts. And then water fasting, Jesus did, you see it all over the place. The fasting for 40 days by Jesus. You see it with the Ramadan. They do actually intermittent dry fasting for 40 days. That's what they do. And they have tons of research on it. Through the religion, which is really cool. You can go and find out about dry fasting through Ramadan and all of it. And so fasting has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and it has stood the test of time. And that's what I'm interested, because like if you look at westernized medicine, the science and everything, like really, like it's only been around for like maybe 150, 200 years. Like I want to look at like the ancient like healing modalities, which have stood, 4,000 or 5,000 years. That's what I'm interested. Yeah. So going to Bali and all of these experiences, it was like, wow, this is what America needs. Being in Bali to coming back to the United States, you realize the chemical warfare that is happening here on all levels. You feel it. Yeah. I was eating the fruits of the land in Bali, from the volcanic earth, the most organic fruits and vegetables that you can ever possibly eat. And it's really, they call it the lands of the gods and goddesses because it is so pure. So it was all of these things. It was a whole awakening, the fasting and then the fruit diet. Because I really had never really had a good relationship with fruit because of the whole sugar thing.
Right. So sugar.
Sugar. It's a whole myth. Honestly, fruit is one of the best foods that you can feed the body. It's the most electric and it's the easiest to digest. And it has so many antioxidants, and when it assimilates, it goes right into the amino acids that you need for your body. And if you look at the tropical fruit, they have tons of protein. Yeah. It's amazing. Yes.
Well, they're loaded with digestive enzymes too, right?
Digestive enzymes,
it's almost like it breaks itself down.
If you look at fruit, it's like the tree is giving you a gift, right? Yeah. Like the berries from the bush, like it's a gift from the earth. If you look at vegetables, you have to like pull them out. A cow has 6 stomachs to digest grass. Yeah. We have 1, so like kale can be just too much. It's really good if you're going to do kale to juice it or to cook it. Right? Yeah. To not like just eat kale. It's actually really a lot on the digestive tract. Yeah. So eating the fruit diet, doing the water fasting, doing the juice fasting, and like really coming into this place in my body where I'm starting to wake up naturally at 4 a.m. So these experiences have like put me into my sadhana practice like I've never experienced in my life. Like I'm embodying this spirit and I'm embodying the circadian rhythm of the planet. And that's the other thing. We're waking up at 4 a.m. You get into the heartbeat of the rhythm of the earth,
the natural rhythm, right?
And it's been one of the most healing things. Just that, right?
Yeah. So when
that aspect of it.
When I saw you talk the other day, I thought it was really interesting how you guys were talking about fruit because I love fruit. Like my diet is basically like pizza and fruit. Like pizza should go. It was some tequila, but like I eat fruit all the time. Like I probably have 2 oranges a day, maybe an apple a day, and then like any other fruit around, like it's like all the fruit all the time. I love it. And I always, growing in the school and stuff, and you'd hear like, oh, like fruit's terrible, especially for diabetics. They got to be careful, and this and that and the other.
Right.
And it's like I understood, like as I understood their science and I understood like what they were talking about, and yet like on a soul level, it just didn't make sense. I was like, that doesn't the soul.
Right.
It just doesn't feel right. I was like, I don't get it. Especially like I understand the like being careful with juicing fruit or the extractions where you remove the fiber from it. But if you're eating the whole thing, where that helps the pulp and the fiber helps to regulate the absorption of the sugar, right? So I thought that was really interesting how you guys were talking about that.
For sugar doesn't even, it gets absorbed right away, the sugar, before it even goes into the stomach.
So
it's a simple sugar. It breaks down before it even goes into the stomach. So it's a fallacy that it goes into the blood and it spikes the blood sugar. You put people on a fruit diet. It's one of the best things to heal and detoxify the body. And I'm, now currently learning from Dr. Morse, who's healing. He's been doing this for 40 years. He's been healing people of everything, of ALS. He's healed somebody from ALS, where we didn't think that there was anything that could cure ALS.
Right.
This man is like, I love listening to him before I go to bed because he's like on this another level. He's like a mad scientist healer. He's a ND. He's a he I think has his PhD in biochemistry, and he has his MD. He's worked in the emergency room, and he like really understood the root and cause of disease, and has been blowing my mind. I have never learned any of this in my Western education. Like, it's just even the lymphatic system, how important the lymphatic system is. It's like if you have a congested lymphatic system, you're on the path to getting cancer. You're on the path to getting so many diseases because you can't get rid of the toxins in your body.
So you're a fan of like trampolines, rebounders and stuff?
Oh, yeah. So the Luna Fast is a 10-day program to really get to the deepest levels of healing at the cellular level, to teach you how to hydrate your body, to transition. So it's 10 days. So, and about four days, you're doing no food. So the 6 days
you're working
are transition.
Into it.
Yes. Yeah. Because I was looking online, I'm seeing all these fad fasts, these fasts that are happening, and people are eating terribly right after a fast. And I'm like, oh, you just cleansed your colon of the mucoid plaque and all of these toxins. It's like a baby's butt. And now you're putting all these chemicals into your digestive tract. Like you just ruined your fast. So it's so important just, as a family nurse practitioner, and then, with all the medications and all of this, like, people on medications, to really give people something that will help them heal, but also to hold space for people that are still on westernized medicine, still in the Western, this Western thinking, to help them to understand the importance of not only a plant-based alkaline diet, but relaxing your digestion, not eating, allowing your body to like take time away from digestion and really slow the fuck down because we are so like go in America. And stress is the number one killer. I mean, cortisol level. That's what causes heart disease. I mean, the gamut of illnesses from heart disease to obesity. I mean, stress. That stress response, if you don't know how to turn off that stress response and increase the vagus nerve, the vagal tone in your body, chronic disease is just, that's what it loves.
Yeah. One of the things that I found when I've done the fasting before, the water fasting or dry fasting, is how much of eating is habitual. And just like it calls like stark attention to like, oh, it's 8 a.m. I feel like I should eat, right. Or like, oh, it's 11 or 12. Like I feel like I should eat. But then it's like, if you check in, it's like, am I hungry?
Right.
I don't know if I'm hungry, but I feel like I should eat, and it's like the cat or the dog where it's just like, they're used to these kind of rhythms of things.
Exactly.
And to start breaking that, what I found is that, from there, you can start breaking other habits and patterns and rhythms and cycles in your life. It's like I've told some of my clients, it's like if you're feeling blocked and stuck, you can do all sorts of mindset work, but you might also just want to like actually go through your closet, throw some shit away. Like it makes it very tangible, right? You're like, you're picking this up, you're removing it from here and you're putting it over there. And same thing, I think, and it sounds like what you're talking about here too, and some sense of it is like, if emotionally and spiritually and psychically, you're just not feeling great, you can do the mindset stuff, you can do some breath work, but sometimes it's like, well, let's just eliminate the food. Let's physically remove that from the equation. And then let's see what kind of gets started from there, and what's there. And it's like, it can be in a total, like an emotional thing, right?
Totally. And that's been the most amazing thing for me to witness and experience is the emotional body, because I didn't realize that most of my life I've been eating to numb myself. Literally. We've been taught to eat and be in, and eat. It's like, what did you do with your family? For me, the family time was at the dinner table. So I'm Italian. So dinners were like the focus 3 times a day at least, with snacks in between. And then, in my dad's side, my mom has been vegan and vegetarian my whole life. Like I've been on the plant-based movement my whole life. So like for me to like realize like, wow, I've been pretty much vegetarian, vegan my whole life. And I'm eating to numb myself. Like I've been going against myself my whole life. Like, what is the whole point of eating? To nurture yourself, to love yourself, to give yourself these nutrients to really manifest and come into a flow state. That's why I'm eating, right? Like to be in a flow state, to be in a bliss state now. But like most of my life, I've been eating to sabotage, to numb, to run away, and if I had never really gone deeply into myself in the fasting, I would have never known that was a root issue for me. And how many people is that for? I mean, I dealt with some eating disorders when I was younger, when I was in high school, but I was able to like really figure out my diet and, and then through the fasting, it's like brought me to another level. And I'm just so grateful because I think, if we really want to heal, we have to go to the root. And that's why fasting is so powerful. And that's why the religions, and that's why most major religions have used it as a way to really tap into the divine energy with not only within, but with their connection with God. And we are God, we are goddesses, and we know this, So now it's like, what can we do to really become that, God, goddess state of existence? And through fasting, I think you can really neuroplasticity, you can really change your brain, change your whole entire system through fasting. And I don't think there's very much research on it. It's like very much new,
Right.
But you're showing like the research is still up and coming. Fasting is still up and coming, but the Ramadan, the religious institution, you go there and look up dry fasting. It shows, people go and they have, high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes too. You can heal pretty much everything. And it's been happening for much longer than we have even been aware of.
Sure.
If you look in the 1920s, fasting was at its most popular time, and the naturopathic doctors were doing fasting clinics, and they were incorporating the medical and the science, right? And observing these patients and putting people on very long fasts for obesity, for heart disease, for high blood pressure, and basically healing these people. Just start Googling it, start looking into it. But yes, the research you look at the blood by going on a plant-based diet. It shows that being more alkaline, like you said, we're slightly alkaline, right? Is powerful. But we could have, I think that this is the future of medicine is the fasting research that needs to still be done. I think it's hard to, I don't know why there isn't research.
Well, the cynic in me says that, this has gone by the wayside because there's no money in it.
True.
Right?
Oh, yeah,
it's like
right.
you're not even
Exactly.
like, it's
Exactly.
like, okay, I'm going to sell you on this big
Exactly.
thing. Like, don't eat for 4 days.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Of course, that's what it is. Because in the 1920s, that's when the whole medical, like, get on pharmaceutical drugs. They then did a whole smear campaign on all the naturopaths and all of the healers. And so it kind of, they wanted to erase that part of history so that we wouldn't know about the power of our own immune system.
Right. I've gone on many rants here on this podcast about the labeling of chronic disease, because I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, right? So I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease. I was super sick for like 10 years, and I had like blood in my stool, all the things. And so I was aware, I was reactive to that diagnosis for so long, and they're basically like, you have this disease, you're never going to get better. Like, you're going to have it forever.
I know.
And I like rage against that machine, because it's insane. And it's like,
so insane.
if you keep eating the same shit, you keep thinking the same, now you're thinking worse thoughts, because now your doctor in a place of authority has told you that you're never going to get better. And so and then should we be surprised when people don't feel better, when like the highest authority says you're not going to feel better? And oh, by the way, like, you're still eating the same shit. I was at the top. I was at Rush in Chicago. I was at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and they all said that what I ate didn't make a difference.
Right.
And I was like, are you like, I didn't know I wasn't in school for some of that. I mean, I hadn't started acupuncture school yet. And so I was just like, okay, like, I've never been sick before. I was like, these are the doctors, they know. And then as I've gotten older, it's like, okay, yeah, you give them a diagnosis, they keep eating the same shit. There's no pattern disruption happening, period. Right. And I think that pattern disruption is one of the most critical aspects to healing. Right. The 4 a.m., getting up at 4 a.m. is like a huge pattern disruptor, I can imagine. Right. So much so that I haven't done it yet. I don't want to get up that early.
Going to Bali was a huge pattern disruption. Sure. Like, it put me on yes, that's exactly what it is. You have to shock the nervous system. You have to like pierce. Wow.
The lightning just struck as she was like waving her hand in the air.
The piercing of the nervous system. And that's what Kundalini is really. I mean, Kundalini, the fasting, the 4 a.m., all of it. It's these, like, very powerful ways of shifting the organism to go back to alignment with your highest, truest self. And it's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy, but it's worth it. And it's like, if you really want to transform your organism, you got to make some major moves. Show up for yourself. Yeah. Do something different. Yeah. Don't continue if you continue doing the same thing, you're going to continue to be sick. Right. Doing the same thing. Right. So let's try something new. And that's what I've been forced to do, like with my mother and my father and my sister and my health. Like, I've been forced to search out these healing modalities. And thankfully I've been surrounded by angels, because my dad passed away when I was 20. Like, I was basically the one, helping to figure out how to take care of my mother. I was her power of attorney when she was dying. I saw what was going on in the westernized medicine. They wanted to do a double hip replacement on somebody with HIV, or somebody that was actually, she was, I think she had AIDS at that point. Somebody's immunocompromised, to do a double hip replacement.
She must have had insurance.
Yes, thank God. Well, the Ryan White Foundation. If we didn't have the Ryan White Foundation, I don't know how my family financially could have been able to deal with my mom. Like, her medications have costed so much every single month, but we've been able to take her off it and do holidays to like help increase her immune system, which is a whole nother topic. But I'm just grateful that I can be kind of like hold the torch for others in their healing, to help show them that there's other ways to heal.
And one of the things that I love about the program that you guys are doing is the community aspect, right? You're not just giving the the prescription of, this is how you do the fast, these are the things to eat and when to eat it. You're offering like a Facebook group and like a community where you guys can all support each other. Because the times that I've done the majority of the fasting has been in ceremony. So it's when I've been, doing the Humble H's, the Vision Quest, the Sundance and stuff. And so like, it's very ritualized, and I'm very well supported during that time, and so I was really excited when you guys were talking about how your program's going to be, that like, that's a component to it. Because I just think that that's so critical, because it's one thing to just like not eat, right? Or to change your diet, but it's there's that spiritual shift. There's the emotional things that are going to come up. There's these kind of attachments to, rhythms and patterns and the way that you used to do it. And part of why I get excited about fasting is because it's like, we get to disidentify from all of that.
Yes.
And that can be frightening. So to have a community and have you and Monica.
So frightening. I mean, I saw my sister freak out like so many times. And I was like, who in the heck in their right mind would want to do something like that? And I was, I look back and I wish I could have supported her more. I didn't realize what she was going through and that she was really going to the depths of herself to heal herself. Yeah. And so I applaud her because she's done it all by herself. And so that was like, being in Bali and being in the community aspect was huge because I had so much come up. I was like learning all these things that I, all these myths that I've been told, and then experience the truth in my being about fruit, about fasting, about all of these things that I'm relearning how to eat, I'm relearning all of these things on how to nourish my body, how to detox. It's a whole new thing for me. And thankfully I have this whole community, and my teacher, she's helped people heal of so many cancers, diabetes, obesity, all the chronic illnesses she's helped people all around the world heal from. She holds space for people to like really learn how to heal themselves. And I was just so inspired to watch this woman, not only with the fasting, but, like you said, you fast for the medicine. That's when I really started fasting. If I think about it, was, the longer term fast, because you fast before ceremony. So I would go like sometimes even 2 days without eating after, with ceremony to like really get the highest benefits of, the ayahuasca or the bufo or, or mushrooms, you really get to have that. You go to the threshold of your experience when you're fasting in with plant medicine. So Alexander Cousins, who's my teacher, she brings together the fasting. It's called Utopia Rising. It's this whole movement of people that are awakening on another level through fasting, through plant-based eating, through eating, primarily a fruit and vegetable diet, alkaline plant-based diet, and detoxing themselves on a regular basis, and through Kundalini. So it combines all of it, Kundalini, the plant-based, all of it. So to experience all those powers together. And then, I was in Bali and I was doing a ayahuasca ceremony. And that's where the birth of Luna Fast came, was through my ayahuasca ceremony in Bali. And I was like, it's just like boom, boom, boom. But I was like, okay, all right, I see it. And I was like having dreams of working with Monica on the project. Nice. Yeah. So I was actually experiencing the Luna Fast literally before it actually manifested. Cool. And so I was like, but I'm a projector. If you know anything about human design, but I've been living a manifesting and generator type of lifestyle. So I've, like with my healing and just my healing journey, I've had to like shut off that side of me and really come into my power as a projector. And as a projector, you're supposed to actually be invited into things. You're not supposed to be the initiator. So it's been interesting to like shut off that more masculine, like go-getter, like
now you're receiving.
Now I'm receiving and like listening to what the universe is directing me to do rather than to try to direct it on my own. So now I'm like, so Monica, she was going through the fasting. She was doing the water fasting with Jeff, who started a whole movement here in Miami as well with the water fasting. And she had an amazing experience. And, she's a dietitian, a registered dietitian. So she's been doing the fasting and the juice
she's
fasting.
Now.
Oh yeah. After that water fast, it was like, oh my God, it like reset her.
Yeah.
So we were both going through this simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then I come back to Miami and I was telling her how, like it would be amazing to like start a program. And then she's like, oh, let's do it. Let's come and combine forces, nurse practitioner, registered dietitian. Let's give, people a healing protocol to really go deep into ridding their body of the toxins, the parasites, the candida that have a control on their whole being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like candida is a very strong, has such an effect on the thinking, on your organism. Parasites, right. We have more bacterial and microbial DNA than we have of our own DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And leaky gut, right? Leaky gut.
Oh my God, leaky gut. I dealt with leaky gut, adrenal fatigue. It took me years to heal my gut, So this protocol is designed to not only fast, but to heal your gut. We're going to give you a whole naturopathic protocol of herbs. And we have this pudding that you take that helps to really absorb all the toxins in your belly and everything while you're in that fasted state. Mm-hmm. And then pair that with like enemas or a colonic. Mm-hmm. And so we have this whole protocol for you. And then we add the yogic component, the breath work, the meditation, the stretching, and really tapping into the spiritual component of fasting. And so it's, a combination of 25 years of experience from her side and then my side.
Awesome.
And so it was just like,
yeah.
Luna Fast was born, and it was all during the eclipse season and Lionsgate. It all happened during that time. And so we've been guided by spirit to just birth this Luna Fast into the world. And we wanted to really have it to be affordable enough for the community.
Sure.
Our first go around, because we wanted to, go and bring this so that we could all experience it together on the new moon.
Yeah.
And Luna Fast is derived from, we do the fast on the new moon, and we align with the vibration of the tides and the electromagnetic field and cosmic forces of the planets and of the moon.
So this is something you guys are going to repeat every new moon.
Every new moon. Yeah. I'm committed to this because part of my certification with Dr. Morse and then Alexander Cousins is to be fasting a week out of the month for a year.
So what's that like in your dating life? Do you have to just date the other 3 weeks?
It's interesting, my dating life.
Do you have to be like, I'll date you, but we're going to
I have
yoga instead of eating.
Yeah, I've been single for the past month, and this has been my boyfriend, this project. So I haven't really experienced the dating life while I'm fasting yet, but that should be interesting. Maybe this month, who knows? Yeah. But no, it's been really amazing because it's like, if I really want to attract that man, that's what I'm calling in, really deeply right now. We had this conversation. Like, I love being around you and Jen because I'm like, it's so powerful to be around a divine masculine and divine feminine force. Like, I really need to get to the root of my issues if I really want to call in that man. And so fasting has really been a powerful way for me to not only get rid of the toxins before I decide to have children, which is a whole nother topic I could go on, because if you're on any type of pharmaceutical medication and you want to have children, you have to detox your body because the toxins go right to the baby. So this fasting journey has been for me to really clear out myself and get deep into my healing, to really attract that masculine force that is in alignment with my highest self. So
when you find that you are doing a water fasting or a dry fasting, how is your day-to-day experience? I imagine someone listening to this might think okay, I need to not work. I need to take the whole week off in order to do it. But I imagine that's obviously not the case. Right. So how is you, do you find, are you more irritable? Are people more irritable? Are they frustrated? Are you more patient, more kind?
So if you've been a sugar burner, if you've been burning mostly sugar, you might have some issues. If you haven't dealt with any type of fasting at all, you will have more of a difficult time because you're wanting that quick sugar, dopamine, so learning how to shut that off and bringing the metabolism into breaking down fats and getting used to that and your organism being okay with that. Because when you're a sugar burner, it's like your emotions, you're basically being guided by the bugs in your stomach and the influx of sugar every like 2 to 3 hours like that you need. And it's not a way to live. It's not in alignment.
We just shouldn't be surprised. This is what I tell my clients.
And this is what standard American,
Yeah, if you feel anxious, if you feel irritable, if you have a hard time grounding, like we shouldn't be surprised. Like look at what you're consuming.
Right. I just posted something today. If you're eating the standard American diet, then you expect the standard American disease, which is obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, thyroid disease. These have all been created by the westernized medicine. It's all been created by the food pyramid that we were taught in middle school and high school. Eat 6 to 10 servings of grains and carbohydrates. Are you kidding me? And very little vegetables and fruits.
Yeah.
So it takes some real like getting rooted and grounded. And so
getting off the coffee too, right? I mean,
getting off the caffeine. Yeah. But we have maca is a much better. We allow you to have maca, which is great.
Yeah.
Because you want to give your body a break from all caffeine, especially because it's very acidic and it plays a toll on the nervous system.
Right.
I wasn't on coffee for the last 2 months and it's been one of the most life-changing experiences because I was on Adderall for 13 years. So getting off stimulants has been one of the hardest things for me.
You don't take Adderall anymore?
No, I've been off of it for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that's another thing. But yeah, I want to bring out a whole thing on yoga and fasting and getting off of Adderall. And, it's just so many things to talk about. And
what was that like for you, like being in medical school where you're discovering...
NP school, nurse practitioner school.
Yeah. You're discovering... I call it all medical school. Where you're
you're prescribing and diagnosing. That's exactly... Yeah.
So, but you're discovering yoga, like you're deepening your yoga practice. You're exploring these things. Were you exploring plant medicines when you were also there? And then are you in and then so you've got this,
I was doing
really
4 a.m. sadhana through my master's program. My mom was dying through my master's program. So I was in my master's, I was working and I was, doing the plant medicine because that was the only thing that got me out of the depression. Yeah. And I got out of the best relationship of my life.
Yeah. No wonder receiving is difficult. You've been driving and driving and driving. So when you then you have let's just pick an average day. So you do the 4 a.m. You're all hopped up and feeling good and more balanced, and then you go to school. And do you is that hard for you to
I was
around?
Helping everyone in my class. I was helping people, because if you look around the room in my classrooms, most of my classmates were drinking soda.
Right.
We're eating chips. We're eating the standard American diet because that's what we were trained. The DASH diet is what we're trained in school. It's still the standard American diet.
Wow.
They still, recommend dairy and, they still recommend so many things, so many grains and, processed meats. And, it's just, it's embarrassing. That's even a protocol in the system.
Yeah. Well, you even look at the food that in hospitals that they serve to patients.
So I was going, right. It's disgusting. It's all fake food.
Yeah.
It's all fake food.
Yeah.
We're eating fake food.
Yeah.
So think about that. Your foundation of your body. I mean, the genetic mutations, we're not going to evolve as a species if we continue to eat this junk. And you're seeing it. And then we're paying millions and millions of dollars to basically say it's okay to eat the standard American diet and then get on your kidney dialysis and get your rib cage broken to get your heart transplant or not heart transplant or for
and all the stuff.
Yeah, the stents and it's just that is normal. That's our normal here in America.
Yeah. It's all money.
When you could put somebody on a fast, literally, my friend, so now that I'm doing this fast and everything, I'm meeting people that are fasting all the time. People
are coming out of the woodwork.
I'm meeting fruitarians everywhere in my classes. I met a Mina's boyfriend or
man in her life. That one time, the guy that was there at that one night that you had a conversation with.
Am I saying this?
We love you,
Am I
Mina.
saying this live to Miami right now?
We love you, Mina.
No, but it's like I'm now just it's when you're in this that it's hard to see. But when you come out of it, then you're like, oh, it's always been here. The fasting, all of these ancient things have always been there. And there's now, I'm surrounded by them. Like last night, I had 2 nights ago when I was teaching at the Sanctuary, I had 2 fruitarians in my class.
So they just eat fruit? Is that what that means?
Well, like 80 to 90% diet fruit. And then they have like vegetables in the evening. Mm-hmm. Well, it depends like where you're at. So this is what I'm being trained in is like, where are you at in detoxifying your body? Yeah. Maybe you need to be on an all fruit diet right now because for me, I was on medications for 13 years. Mm-hmm. I want to get those medications out of my body. Right. I mean, I've been off of medications for quite some time, like a good 5-6 years, but like, well, Adderall only 2.5, but it's still in our internal organs and our tissues. And
is there research that shows that? I mean, are they like biopsying the liver and finding traces of Adderall and like, you know, or like they're finding remnants of birth
Probably
control.
not.
Like,
why would they want to do that?
I know they don't want to blow up their industry.
Of course they don't want to do that.
I'm curious, you know, when I hear like the whole detox thing, I'm always fascinated. It's like it seems from what I understand, like the heavy metals are stored in fat cells, right? So you can find that more clearly. But when we talk about medications being in the body, like energetically, I get it, right? And like we can have that experience. You know, like Jen and I did a tantra session yesterday, and like, you know, they were touching certain like parts of my thigh and stuff, and I had this huge emotional release. And so, as a body worker, you'd say, oh, the emotions are stored in that area, right? And that's sort of functionally the experience. But like, is it really? Like, how does it work? You know,
intuitively, I'm feeling myself release them through the fast.
Yeah, which I totally understand. I get that. But
I'd love to see like
I
would love to do too. Let's do let's get a microscope
like,
out.
Live, you know?
Let's look at the tissue. I would love to do that. That would be very interesting, actually. Like a whole toxicology report on people's bodies. But energetically, I feel them releasing from my body, especially when I'm in the deep fast. And the medicine, you know, I've been on plant medicines for 4.5 years. Yeah. And those get reactivated when you're on the fast. And that is incredible.
That's a
for
free
me.
High. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to be doing this monthly. Are you joking me? It's
done.
free.
Jen, I'm going to start starving myself.
It's free. I can, you know, like, and that's the thing. Like,
where's that LSD stored?
Right. Seriously. And so I'm like, free medicine journey every month through fasting.
That's funny. There was a guy here that was on the podcast who he did the frog medicine, right? The frog is just the purging one. Yeah, he did that, and he had been taking Rogaine, and he said, I did that, and I was like, this has to stop. He goes, I became acutely aware of just feeling all of this toxicity through my body. And that was a big thing for him, you know, a young guy to like let himself go bald.
Yeah.
Right? But he was like, I did the medicine, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's got to stop.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been great. I'd love to have you come back on. Let the people know, how do they find you? How do they sign up for the fast and do all the things?
So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Bianca Jane Marie Abbott on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it's yoga_Bianca Abbott. And if you're wanting to know more about the Luna Fast, we have a website, lunafast.com.
Nice. Good branding.
And then we have Instagram, the Luna Fast, that you can follow us on Instagram. And everything's just it's just being born right now, and we're so excited. We start our first cleanse on Saturday, community cleanse, and we'll see how it goes. I'm so excited to hold space. Monica and I are just like thrilled to be even able to like have this time with you, James. Or Jim. You like to go by Jim, right? Like, yeah. So it's just a really exciting time to like bring something out to help people heal on another level, instead of like relying on westernized medicine. We have to start relying on ourselves and like learning about our immune system and really tapping into our own power, because we're so powerful. And so it's exciting for me to be able to facilitate something like this and to bring this into the world. So, and
it's going to be a rolling enrollment, right? Every new moon. Whenever someone's listening to the podcast, even if it's 5 months from now when we're doing it, like it'll be there. So check it out. And I'm a huge fan. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is great. It takes a ton of courage to just even start a new program. And, fasting has been a big part of, helping me to have spiritual and emotional breakthroughs, and to really like that moment that I had that like really was the pivotal turning point in breaking the chain of my chronic disease of when I was sick. Happened when I was fasting. I mean, I was on a vision quest, and it just sort of like I found this profound level of forgiveness for like all of these things that I've been harboring resentment for. And all of that happened when I was in the middle of a dry fast. Yeah. And I think it took the stripping away of the food and breaking the routine there to create the environment for me even to see my emotional and spiritual state differently. And so when I was excited at your presentation the other night to see that, it's not just like a juice fast or like, that shit with the maple syrup and the cayenne pepper, right. That it's like, it's rooted in this tradition, and it's calling back to what I believe is part of our natural state, which is fasting. I mean, you just think about way back when people didn't have access to food all the time, it's like, they weren't trying to fast. Like fasting would have been just part of what they were used to.
The hunter-gatherers, like that's what they didn't have food every 2 hours. Like, so it's like, the fasting is a great way to start breaking this vibration that we've been taught and that we've learned and that we've, inherited from our ancestors, right? Like we've inherited this rhythm, and now we're living in a world that it's the best time to be alive right now. Mm-hmm. So like we have Google at our fingertips. Let's, really use the wisdom that we've been taught from our ancestors and come into our highest vibration as a community. Right?
Thank you so much for being here. This is
great.
Thank you. Check out her work, guys, and I will catch you guys next time.